3.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Brew, live on Brew Sports. It is a Monday edition of the program. We are back and better than ever after a couple of short days off. It is so good to be back here on Brew Sports. I was able to check in at least once from Florida. I said I would try a couple of times, but let's be honest, when the strawberry margaritas are rolling, it's a little hard to be productive, let's be honest. But we are back. Life is good. All is well with the world. Jamie is actually gone on vacation this week, but filling in for her is Mackenzie Lorenzo. It's great to have you back on the Morning Brew, Mackenzie. Good morning to you.
Good
How
morning.
are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It's great to see you again. You don't look as tan as I do, but you're still looking good. It's great to see you. How was your weekend? Anything fun for Mother's Day at all or anything?
I was actually working the Milwaukee Torrent game, so I was not able
Very
to
fun.
go home for Mother's Day.
Oh.
But I'll be going home to see my mom shortly.
Oh, that's good. You got to make sure you get back and see Mom at some point.
Yes.
Of course. You don't want to upset Mom, and
No.
as some people like to joke, getting put out of the will because you didn't go home for Mother's Day or anything.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
I think I'm still in it.
you're still good. You're still in her top favorite children,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Well, great. Well, we are excited to have all of you wonderful people here with us this morning. Ryan Pierce is going to be here to join us, one of our NBA insiders, to help us just kind of dive into everything that's taken place so far in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, that takes place coming up on Wednesday, Game 7 of the NBA. What is it technically? The second round. Does it have a round? The semifinals? I don't know if it has a second round.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The NBA Eastern second round. I don't know exactly. It's not like the divisional round or the wild card like you have in the NFL. So that's going to be taking place tonight. So Ryan will be here with us to kind of help us get a true thought and feeling in on everything. We do say a very good morning to all of you amazing people. We do have a couple of questions of the day that we are asking today. So if you do have any thoughts or comments about any of that, we'd love to hear from it. Very simple, very straightforward. We are asking, should athletes stay off of social media during the playoffs? We'd love to hear your thoughts about that one. Coming off the back of guys like Steph Curry saying, I'm out, I don't do social media during, and then John Wall and others jumping on and letting the world know that they are doing so great during the playoffs. And we're also asking, after Miss USA took place last night, how do you feel about beauty pageants? Has the perception changed in 2017 and moving forward? We've got a lot of thoughts and comments about all of this stuff, so make sure to voice your opinion with everything that we've got going on this morning. We do say good morning to Patrick and Liz and a bunch of other people as well, too. Patrick also reminding us it's the conference semifinals, technically.
Okay.
So that is the official term for it. So we appreciate that, Patrick. So we've got all of our ducks in a row. Good morning to you, Brew, and many others as well, too. Sarah and Kurt and others as well chiming in. We'd love to hear from you guys this morning if you have any thoughts about anything we talk about or anything about the questions of the day. We do remind you we are broadcasting live here on Facebook, also on YouTube Live and on Spreaker.com as well, too, for those of you that are more of a listener than a viewer. In that regard. So, all right, it is time for the What's Brewing segment where we talk about stuff that is taking place in the sports world that we are just intrigued by. And I think we need to start off by honoring a legend first and foremost, Mackenzie. Yesterday, the New York Yankees retiring Derek Jeter's number. They were doing the whole hashtag respect, but the 2 was in there. It was very well done. Got his plaque retired, or got his jersey retired. All the single-digit numbers for the Yankees now officially retired. It's kind of incredible to think about.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What did Derek Jeter, did he have any sort of an impact on your fandom in baseball at all growing up?
I mean, he's always been a name that I feel like you grow up and you just know Derek Jeter.
Right.
Like, everybody just knows his name.
It is. It has been one of those players, I mean, that I never was a big baseball follower, and that's very common knowledge, of course, but you always knew who Derek Jeter was.
Yeah.
You always would at least tune in to see, when the Yankees are on, I just want to see Derek Jeter play.
Right.
I just want to see Alex Rodriguez play. I just want to see some of those guys play. But Derek Jeter's just one of those timeless names, I feel like, that
absolutely
you're never going to forget about, and his impact on the game, and the fact that he was a single-team player, too. Doesn't happen very often. I know we like to honor that in sports nowadays because people are always trying to go to get more money and to win a championship, but Derek Jeter was an integral part of everything that
absolutely was.
the Yankees did. Do you feel like the Yankees were a little too crazy though to retire all of their single-digit numbers, or are they just fortunate to have so many great guys on their teams?
I mean, I think you could really look at it either way, but that's a pretty cool accomplishment to be able to say you've had that many people be retired.
Right, exactly. I mean, Babe Ruth, among others as well, too. That's also among the retired numbers. There's obviously a whole list of it. But, of course, our hats off for Derek Jeter. Patrick says on Facebook, he's like, I'm not a Yankees fan, but Jeter fan for sure, pure class. That's definitely the case for me as well, too. Never been a Yankees fan, but you have to be a fan of the general accomplishment. Like, I'm not a Cavaliers fan, I'm not a Heat fan, but I still respect LeBron James when he plays. You know, there's certain players. Not a Patriots fan, still respect Tom Brady because he's just a once in a lifetime sort of a athlete that you don't see very often. So
I thought it was cool too.
off.
Derek Jeter was retired after the Yankees beat the Astros, and the Astros passed him up in the 1992 draft. So I mean, kind of cool. You know?
Little side jab there if you're Yankees to the Astros. I can't even imagine Derek Jeter as a Houston Astro. How different the baseball landscape would look right now. Those articles are usually some of my favorites to read, though. It's like, what if XYZ drafted Peyton Manning instead? Or like, what if literally any other team had drafted Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or whatever? It's like, so.
But then so many other things could change.
Exactly.
And then maybe he doesn't end up being Tom Brady or Derek Jeter.
That's usually my argument back to anybody that makes those. I'm like, you can't say that he's going to have been the same or she, could have been the same. Like, it's not how it works.
Right. If one thing's going to change, then anything could change.
Right. Absolutely. What do you have on your side of things there, Mackenzie, that might be something brewing this morning in the sports world?
Not necessarily sports, but we did talk about earlier Oregon bringing up the third gender thing.
This is so strange.
I'm very fascinated by anything in this topic,
That's
conversation realm.
Okay.
Maybe because I'm a little oblivious and don't completely understand why it's a big issue.
It's strange, though.
But I'm fascinated by the whole concept of it.
I had this conversation with a couple of my friends when I was down visiting in Florida, and to see the reaction from people that haven't heard this to the people that have actually known something about it has been very, very interesting. I mean, if you haven't heard about this, Oregon is now deciding to have a third gender that you can basically identify with on their license.
Right.
When you fill out your DMV form, it's male, female, of course, but then it's non-binary gender. So you have an X on your instead of an M or an F. I still haven't I've known about this for about a week or so, and I still haven't fully put it together, just because I think I'm just under the influence that I'm like, listen, whatever you are, whatever you're born with, that's what you are. Don't even try to complicate it. But I know that that's unfortunately not how society thinks now it is. How do you react to this?
I'm the same way, and also California is trying to.
I'm surprised that California, of all people, haven't
but
jumped on this first.
They're allowing you to do it on your birth certificate.
Really? So parents are choosing ahead of time? Or they're letting you go back and change your birth certificate?
That's a good question. I don't know. But
that's interesting.
I mean, maybe you'd have to go back and change it, because I don't know how a parent could choose that.
I was going to say, I feel like there would be a lot of crazy people out there if you could be like, oh, I'm actually this, or like, I'm going to let my... I feel like you would come under a lot of scrutiny if you decided to try and change, like, if you decide, or you put like X, like, I'm going to just let them choose. Like, what if you end up, going through everything and you whatever, turn 18 to become an adult, and you're like, wait, I'm sorry, I'm listed as a what on mine? Like, mom and dad, like, I've never once not identified as being a man or never identified as being a female. Like, why'd you put me down as a non-binary?
Some parents also raise their kids as gender neutral, though, as well, because they want them to choose.
That's true.
So,
which is strange.
Does that also classify in that category?
I guess I don't know how that works into it, but it's an interesting conversation though that I know a lot of people have been trying to figure out. So Oregon's doing some weird things out there. I'm not officially sure. Luke, going back to us talking about Derek Jeter though on Facebook, he says it's really quick for them for his number to be retired. That is interesting. I mean,
it's true.
I mean, is it too quick though when you've got someone that's such a huge legend like that though?
I don't know if it's too quick, but it is quick.
It is. I mean, he's only been out of the game for just a handful of years. It feels like hasn't even been that long.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Definitely something that we're going to have to see if it becomes more of a popular trend moving forward in that regards. But I want to jump into the world of basketball, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
As many folks know, the conference finals and the Eastern semi-conference finals, the courtesy of Patrick, that have been hot and heavy recently. And we've got a whole cast of people here at Brew Sports that are just incredibly talented when it comes to kind of helping us break everything down and just being able to kind of put it all together. We do want to remind you, of course, as we get ready to jump into a new segment, if you haven't taken a second to answer our questions of the day, we are asking, should athletes stay off social media during the playoffs? And then how do you feel about beauty pageants and the concept of them in this day and age? It's kind of changed over the last, I'd say, decade or so. once we chat with I am chatting with you, Mackenzie. Once we chat with Ryan in just a second, we'll make sure to go back through and give our opinion. So make sure you do that as well. But with all that being said, we do want to bring in one of our great correspondents, Ryan Piers, this morning. A very good morning to you, Ryan. How are you, sir?
Good morning to you two. How are you both doing?
We're doing very well.
Great.
It's great to have you on this morning, Ryan. First and foremost, of course, how entertained are you by the craziness taking place after Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between San Antonio and Golden State?
Oh my gosh, it's everything I think we were hoping for as basketball fans. Not only did you have a very competitive game, an intriguing game, it didn't go as planned. I mean, the Spurs got off to a 20-point lead at halftime. You had Kawhi taking over. Then you had some controversy with his injury. There were 4 or 5 storylines going on in that game alone. I think it makes for something very fascinating throughout the next week and a half, 2 weeks in that Spurs and Warriors series. So a lot there, a lot to unpack.
How do you value Kawhi's impact in the game? I've watched a decent amount of basketball in my lifetime, but I've never seen such a drop-off in production from a team when it comes to what San Antonio was doing to then what they basically could not do after Golden State kind of just started just piling on the points.
No, there's really 3 players in the NBA that you look at and say, this guy completely makes this team. It's Westbrook, Harden, the 2 main MVP candidates, and then Kawhi Leonard. Throughout the year, that was the Spurs. When Kawhi was on the floor, they were probably 10 to 15 points better per game than when he was off the floor. You saw that last night. I believe it was the Warriors outscoring the Spurs by 24 points after Kawhi went down. So his value is huge, not just on the offensive end, but of course defensively. He's one of the top 3 players in the league, and we saw that with Durant. Durant went off after Kawhi went down. So his value to the team is unmeasurable. It's incredible, and to lose him for that game and hopefully not longer was a big deal.
And I think being able to see guys like Steph Curry to start to pour it on in the third quarter really helped power Golden State through after him only having 14 points collectively in the first 2 quarters to then go and get at least 16, if not more, in quarter number 3. It started to prove that he was back and it was starting to kind of fall for him. Golden State did kind of go quiet and cold a little bit there in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Then they were able to kind of rally back forward. But as the series continues to move forward now, say Kawhi Leonard doesn't step on the court for another game or 2, does Golden State jump out to a 3-0 lead? Is it safe to assume that? Or can you assume, though, that San Antonio is going to be able to at least steal one of these next 2 games?
Oh, I think it's going to be very difficult for San Antonio to get a victory without Kawhi Leonard. A couple of their guards, Manu Ginobili, Patty Mills, are going to have to go off. And LaMarcus Aldridge is going to have to put 30, 35 points on the board for them to even stand a chance without Kawhi. But I think it is going to be almost impossible for the Spurs to steal a game from Golden State without him. He's just that valuable, and it's tough to replace him.
Talking with Ryan Piers here this morning on the Morning Brew. Ryan, as we flip over to the Eastern Conference, Celtics, Wizards, I got a chance to watch some of that Boston game the other night. And then John Wall decided to have other plans, basically saying, all right, guys, I'm going to actually put this team on my back. And then he went on and complained about it on social media. I was like, look at me, I'm amazing. How do you look at this series? Who do you have? Is it Celtics? Is it Wizards? I mean, it's been kind of back and forth. I thought Boston had kind of put everything to bed after their blowout victory a couple of days ago. But now I feel like the narrative has changed ever so slightly.
Oh, it's majorly changed. And I think the momentum, the confidence is on the Washington side. I still think Boston's going to win it. And you have IT for the dominant fourth quarter player that he is. And I think being back at home in Boston at the TD Garden, that's going to make a big difference. So I still think Boston comes out on top. And they really had that game in the bag until John Wall decided to play Superman and knock down a somewhat uncharacteristic 3 for John Wall. But I think Boston's going to win it. But it's still, I mean, essentially a toss-up. Both these teams are very comparable. Both of them intriguing. I mean, you look at the back and forth throughout the series, the physicality, and just the nitty-grittiness. Both teams like to push, they like to prod, and it makes it entertaining, and it's made it a great 7-game series. But I still think Boston comes out on top. But it's essentially a toss-up here. They're so evenly matched.
We'll ask you this too, Ryan. We're asking this on Facebook today for all of our viewers. How do you think players should stay off of social media during the playoffs? So guys like John Wall going out and just kind of broadcasting to the world how amazing he thinks he is, but then you get guys like Steph Curry who kind of like, listen, I'm taking a hiatus from social media when the playoffs start. Do you think it makes an effect? Do you think players are still, even though they say they're off, are still just using their computer to check instead of going on their phone when they're on the road? Like, how do you think about this?
I think most are probably cheating if they say they're off. But LeBron has his zero dark 30 is what he calls it, where he's most famously known for going off social media. I think it's smart. I think especially in the playoffs when there's so much more scrutiny, there's less teams to cover, so there's more written about you. You can read more about yourself. I would do it. I support it. I think it's a smart move by players. It's only for a month and a half. Playoffs can be kind of long in the NBA. I would do it. Yeah, I think it's a smart move, and I definitely support it. And then afterwards kind of come back on and chat with your fans and recap what happened. But if they don't, I mean, that's kind of their prerogative. But I would definitely try to stay off social media if I were in that position as a professional athlete.
Yeah, and I would probably agree with you on that one as well, too. All right, Ryan, before we let you run, based off of what you've seen from the two series, obviously Boston and Washington are still figuring themselves out. Does Cleveland have anything to worry about regardless of who they end up having to face in the finals? Obviously Golden State's another conversation, but
Sure.
say for a hypothetical, San Antonio wins and then Washington and or Boston then has to take each other on. But does Cleveland have any hindrance of repeating as a champion in your mind after everything you've seen so far in the playoffs?
I think it's very little to pretty much none. I think the more difficult matchup might be Boston just because their forwards are a little bit more physical. Might be a tougher matchup for LeBron, but I don't think so. I think the way Cleveland's been playing, they've been more balanced in the playoffs. LeBron is playing out of his mind like he normally does in the playoffs, which makes him pretty much unstoppable. I don't think there'll be much of a challenge for Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right, good stuff, Ryan. We appreciate you swinging by this morning. Where can people find you on social media if they want to keep up with what you got going on?
Ryan Appears Media, pretty simple. And I tweet about my work down in Peoria and then a lot of basketball stuff and things like that.
Phenomenal. Thanks, Ryan. We'll talk to you soon, sir.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there goes Ryan Pierce this morning here on the Morning Brew. Great to hear from him. Some good insight. Any takeaways, Mackenzie, off of what he says about all the series?
I loved the point of when he was talking about staying off social media, the fact that there's not as many teams, so reporters are focused more on specific players and that they could be reading more about themselves and accusations or good things back and forth. I've never thought of it that way before, so I just thought that was really interesting.
And that is a very valid point, honestly, when you kind of look at it in that regards. I mean, people say all the time, they're like, "Oh, I don't read what people say," or I don't care what the trolls on Twitter have to say. When secretly we all care. Let's all be completely honest. I don't know a single person that doesn't actually care a little bit what people are saying.
Right, and if people are saying, "Oh, I don't care,"
right.
You do care because you're still talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if you actually had no clue what people were saying, it would be a totally different thing in that regards. Because we live in a now generation. People want to know what people are saying about them, good, bad, or otherwise. I mean, if somebody says John Wall has funny hair, John Wall's probably going to go and like that. Be like, oh, look at this guy. Like, that's funny. Like, they're not going to actually care. Like, John Wall can't hit a 3 to save his life. Like, he doesn't care about that. He's like, what do you know kind of thing. I'll just prove it. But, like, people care what they're saying about each other.
Absolutely.
Like the in-depth stories as well too, or like the interviews, and people want to go back and see that. They want to know how they looked or what they said, kind of a thing too. So let's look at this as a question of the day then, since we've been asking this, and if you haven't responded yet, we are going to get to all of your answers here shortly. If you think athletes should stay off social media during the playoffs, we do say good morning to Caleb and Mitch and Maxine and a bunch of others as well tuning in. So what do you officially say now? You've heard Ryan's opinion. We've kind of briefly skimmed over it. You had your own personal opinions coming into this as well, too. Yeah. Do you think athletes should stay off social media during the playoffs? Or would you, as an athlete, try to do that? Maybe that might be easier. We'll do it both ways. Do you think that athletes should do it? But then if you personally were in a high-profile situation, would you want to stay off social media? It makes you think.
Oh gosh, it's hard because if you're winning, you're having a great season, you're one of the top players. Why would you want to stay off? You can just brag about yourself, see everybody else that's bragging about you.
Do you want to be known as the bragger, though? That's the question.
Oh, gosh. I think everybody should stay off social media more than they do. So, in general, I don't think it's a bad thing for them to stay off. I don't know.
But how about you for yourself personally then? If you play volleyball, so say you're at the Olympics and you're playing volleyball at a high level where you're under such a massive microscope.
Yeah.
Do you want to be on social media? Do you just post but don't read kind of thing? Like, hey, just went to training, or oh my gosh, guys, just met Michael Phelps. Like you send it, you put an Instagram out there, whatever, but you don't check the comments. I was going to say,
I think it would be a good idea to drop the social media and focus on the task at hand. But if it was me personally, I would probably
You'd still be out
I would
there?
want to be Instagramming all of the pictures.
Like, look at everything
Yeah.
going on. What about from a general perspective though? I mean, do you feel though that like people abuse things like this? Like
Yeah,
when it comes to that?
absolutely.
And it's just, I feel like athletes all the time are just trying to throw everything out there, being like, look at how amazing I am. Like certain things it makes sense, but when you're going and attacking somebody on social
Yes.
media, it's like, okay, like we actually really don't care about your little feud. But the media is like, they're feuding. More
Right.
things to write
I
about.
was gonna say more articles.
Right, more things to get excited about. Like, okay, like that just gets annoying to me after
Yeah,
a while.
I would agree
but
with that.
That's just how certain people are. I understand that. Luke on Facebook says social media is corrupt. I do agree with you on that one, Luke.
Yes,
It certainly
absolutely.
has taken a bit of a downward spiral, I feel like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
last, I would even say the last decade. Caleb answers our question of the day. He says, athletes should use social media when they want, playoffs or not. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
He also answers our other question of the day, which we'll get to in just a second. Also looking in, as we mentioned, if you have any thoughts or comments about what we've got going on the program today, please make sure to comment below. We'd love to hear from you. All right, so last night was the Miss USA pageant.
Sure was.
For those that don't know, like myself, I literally had no idea that it was going on until I was on the plane home last night, looked to my right, and there was she couldn't have been older than 12 years old watching the Miss USA pageant. And I was like, oh, very interesting. I'm like, okay. It made me ask the question, how do you feel about beauty pageants? Has the perception of what a beauty pageant is, you've got Miss America, you've got Miss USA, you've got Miss Universe, you've got all the Miss, has your perception changed of it, or do you still think it's a bunch of pretty bimbo women walking around that don't have a darn clue about, the ecosystem or, tax evasion or any of that other crazy stuff? Like, how do you view this?
I am not a fan okay, let me back up. I'm
Okay.
all about girl power.
Of course.
Women, love it. Yeah, we can make a
Hashtag
difference.
women
Absolutely.
power.
But if you are so smart that you are a scientist or an IT analyst, why do you have to be in a swimsuit to be able to prove that you're that smart?
That's true. No,
I don't get it.
I completely agree with you on that one. I mean, for those that don't know, my wife was a part of the Miss America organization. I've got a lot of very close friends that are in the Miss America organization, and I know a lot of these gals, and you see the resumes that they put together. You see the jobs that they have, and you're very correct, though. You look at it like, you asking that question is just like, like what are you accomplishing? And I get it.
Yeah.
Like, Miss America is a scholarship pageant. It helps pay for college. A lot of these gals are either in college or trying to pay back loans, right after they're getting out of college. So this money, of course, would help. But why do you need to do this? Is it personal justification to be like, yes, I'm pretty, or yes, I'm doing something proper with my life? I think that's where it starts to lose people a little bit.
It's almost a double standard because we say we're praising women for their intelligence and their power and all of the good things they are doing, but then they have to be in a super tight short dress or a swimsuit while they're saying it,
Right.
to be able to prove it. And
It's like,
I don't think those things are correlated.
Right. It's like, I'm all about women's equality. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Like,
Yes.
put your boobs back in your dress. Like, just keep it together kind of a thing. I mean, I was watching a little bit because I was trying to not, like, be super creepy and watch the girl's laptop next to me. But, like, because her mom was sitting in between us and I didn't want to be like, oh, who's winning? But, like, they asked the question of the final three last night. They said, what do you think is a feminist, and are you a feminist kind of a thing, or something of that nature. It was just, I obviously couldn't hear what they were saying because the gal had headphones in, but just, it was so interesting to see. But I also found it interesting, too, that they went up and they put on headphones on the two gals that weren't answering. So that way they couldn't hear the answer of the other person. I've never seen that
Interesting.
done.
I didn't know that.
You've always been able to, like, see, at least in other organizations, you've always been able to see and hear what the person is saying.
Yeah.
But they actually walked over. They had two guys. It was awkward a little bit. They like appeared out of nowhere, like put
they probably
headphones on the
loved their
girls.
job too.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh. And then like once they're like, oh, okay, now you can go. And then like the girl would walk up and answer this. They all answer the exact same question. I'm like, and like I said, I don't know exactly how the Miss USA pageant works, but I was a little thrown off by that. I'm like, why do you have to put soundproof headphones on this girl so she can't hear the answer? It seemed weird.
That's very strange. I didn't
confused.
know that. I did know that the winner said that she didn't believe in feminism. She believed in equality.
Equality, yeah. It's like, I mean,
That's a good answer.
right.
Feel like.
I mean,
But
I feel like you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Like you're obviously all about like, hey,
Heck
go women, like kick butt, but like we want to have equality across the board here.
Right,
now.
but, like,
down with men. Like,
yeah,
okay.
I don't think I'm better than a man. I think we're all just great.
Right, exactly. I mean, you're
Yeah.
incredibly talented, but you have different talents in different areas.
Yeah.
Obviously. It was very interesting. Luke said this actually kind of coincides with bodybuilders have as well too. It's like, listen,
True.
like just because you're strong or just because you have the different things that are going for you, why do you have to go then and get like super awkwardly orange and then flex and be like, look at me? It's like, no, thank
Spray
you.
tan.
Yeah, you look really awkward. I don't want to do that. Patrick on Facebook says, I think the last beauty pageant that I watched was the Steve Harvey ending. Beyond that, he can't remember much. And yeah, that's very memorable for a lot of folks. That's for sure. The whole classic Steve Harvey ending. It's I don't even remember the two. I think was it Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or something that he
I don't
messed
know.
up.
I don't think anyone remembers. I
don't
think
so.
everyone
I think
just remembers Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey tried to just like suppress it, be like, it didn't
Yeah.
happen. It didn't happen. One of the few blemishes in Steve
I
Harvey's
think he had
career.
them on his show after it
I'm
happened.
pretty sure he did. Yeah. How does that? I mean,
As like a formal apology. or
yeah, I'd be like,
something.
I'm so sorry. I'd be like, how do you agree to something like that if you're the girl that did win but then lost? Be
Well, I
like,
got paid.
I hope so. Be like, sure, I'll come on and get humiliated because you're gonna watch the clip again and be like, oh look, I won. Just kidding. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you have like unlimited burns available. Then you can just like keep burning Steve Harvey. Be
Yeah.
like, hey, you messed me up in front of millions of people. I can just continue to roast you and not even feel bad.
She
about
handled it very
did.
well, though, I thought.
I agree. I completely agree with you on that one. So that is the second question of the day that we are rolling with this morning. How do you feel about beauty pageants? I'm a believer in the sense that if it is the Miss America organization where it's scholarship based and you're continually trying to build up these young women, I'm all for
Yeah.
that. But if as soon as it gets into the sexual side of things, like, ooh, how much or how little of clothing can we put on a girl and have it still be socially acceptable,
Right.
and then we can have people vote on it and do that other stuff. Like, I actually got to judge a Miss America pageant 8 months ago,
Oh, wow.
and it was a unique experience. It was a lot of fun. But at the same time, like, it wasn't for the reasons that people would assume, me like, oh, you just got to stare at pretty girls
Right.
the entire time. Like, literally the swimsuit part lasts all like 30 seconds. Like, it really is just like, because they have to, because it's just, they hustle out,
Yeah.
like, hey, here I am, like, do my thing, boom, and I'm gone kind of thing. Like, it's exactly what they did,
Yeah.
too. Like, just they're here, boom, and they walk back off because they just have to keep moving the program along. And, like, so the stereotype, like, oh, you just get to stare at girls in bikinis for the time. Like, not really. No, like, that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. Like, you have to go through a long interview process with all these girls. You then have to see them in, like, their evening, nightwear, which is super pretty. And then you just have to hear them answer questions and perform talents and all of this stuff. So the whatever sexual draw there might be is
Yeah.
literally there and gone before you can even really process it. But as a judge, you're like, okay, yep, great. Oh, okay, great. Like, you have to, like, fly through it. You don't even have a chance to, like, linger at all,
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
I'd
So
admire it.
I was completely fine with doing that. And I would totally do it again. I
Yeah.
had a great time with it. But it was so funny. The few people that I knew, they're like, oh, you just get to stare
Right.
at pretty girls.
Oh,
I'm
you
like,
got to judge.
no, I didn't. Like, it was
Yeah.
not like that. And I'm not like that anywhere. I'd be like, oh, look, like,
Right.
It's just not who I am, kind of a thing. And
It's just such a fine line between
it is
having confidence with your body and being proud that you're a woman,
right.
and then crossing over that line that society says you have to be showing a bunch of skin. I don't know.
Right, and
I'm not a fan of that.
And that's the one thing that really irks me about women in sports. And I
Yeah.
know that this is close to home for
Yeah.
you because of you're still trying to make your way in sports. Is how many times do you see people that have the job that are like, you could not even know what they do, but they're like, oh, you're very pretty. Like, okay,
Yeah.
great for you. But then it's like, oh, you work in sports. It's like, okay. Like, and then you hear them talk. You're like, how do you have a job?
Right.
Kind of a thing. It's like, oh, I get it. It's because you have big boobs, or, oh, it's because
Yep.
you're a pretty face to look at. It's like,
Yeah.
that really annoys me because I've met and just seen so many people throughout my career where it's like, you see them and like, as soon as they open their mouth, they're like,
yeah,
what
makes
do
you cringe a
yeah,
little
you're
bit.
like, okay, like, and what do you do? Oh, I'm a reporter here, or I'm like, oh, of course you are.
Right.
It's like, really? And then you see
Yeah.
other people that work hard, that are actually modest, that aren't just
Yeah.
like flashing it around. It's like, and you don't have a job yet, or it's like you're still working your
Yep.
way up the totem pole. Like, it's really sad, honestly. Like, some of the best sideline reporters in the NFL, like Michelle Tafoya, like, I've never seen her once wear anything scandalous, but
Right.
like, that's like the one person that like everybody knows, or like Pam
Mm-hmm.
Oliver, never really seen anything scandalous from Pam. Erin Andrews, yeah, but
A little bit.
yeah, but still, like that,
Yeah.
she was still pretty good overall.
Yeah.
But like a vast majority of the gals that work sideline reporting, or in general do broadcasting as a whole, you on a high level, you don't
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
see it. But like, it's the
That's because those are the people that end up having they have long careers
Right.
and they're not like a one-hit wonder
Exactly.
because they actually know what they're talking about and they
Exactly.
handle themselves with class.
And even the gals that you see on ESPN hosting SportsCenter, and like they all have like the dresses that like come
Yes.
up to here, or at least have like a blazer on or something. You don't see anybody just like popping out
Yes.
halfway through, be like, "Welcome to SportsCenter." It's like, wait, what am I
Yeah,
watching? Like this
yeah.
is really strange. Like maybe that would help boost the ratings. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
it probably
thankfully-
would.
Maybe there you go, ESPN. If you're looking for a way to boost your ratings, you're welcome. Anyway, we say all of this though to transition into something that's kind of an awesome thing for female broadcasters out
Yeah.
there. It was announced recently, courtesy of Sports Illustrated, that there is that Beth Mowins is going to call the September 11th Monday Night Football game, the late game. She has done a bunch of play-by-play for the Oakland Raiders preseason. Aside from that, she's done a lot of college football games as well too. Very respected, very well-toted, incredible resume, and now she gets the opportunity to call a nationally broadcast Monday Night Football. It's not as glamorous as it used to be, unfortunately.
true.
Sunday Night Football has become the new Monday Night Football,
Yeah.
I feel like, because Al Michaels made the flip over from ESPN
Yes.
to NBC. That's completely fine. I love Al Michaels. I'll follow him until
Yep,
he dies,
absolutely.
kind of thing. But you see this opportunity. We see that there's now a female broadcaster in the booth for, Sunday Night Baseball as well
Yeah.
too. I've seen, basketball games have this as well worked in. Like, are we starting to see more of a trend in this way regards McKenzie? Like, how do you, I'm assuming you were really excited when you heard about this.
Heck yeah. I love it.
And I mean, it just kind of, it sends a message to gals like yourself.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, like I can do this.
Right.
Like, it is happening. Granted, this gal has worked a really, really long time and has obviously,
Yeah.
had to fight her way through a lot of adversity, but it still has to be exciting now, I feel like.
Oh yeah, so exciting. I wouldn't say it's a trend because I still don't think it's happening enough to be able to say that it's becoming more normal or becoming a trend. But I mean, the women are definitely breaking into the sports field, even with the women referees and
Right.
umpires, things like that. They're starting to make their presence known.
And I think
it's
that's
great.
what you
I
need
love
to
it.
do. And I think that was really what makes it a big deal, in all honesty. And Luke on Facebook actually says unqualified, non-well-spoken. I'm curious to know if that's retaining back to the Miss USA pageant or if that's talking about this this news with Beth Mowins. I'm curious about that one, Luke. So
I think he was talking about the women reporters.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you about that one. Yeah, I was a little confused. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that this gal is pretty smart, Luke. But I mean, everybody's obviously can have their own opinion, of course. But yeah, this is an exciting time. Mowins, obviously, the last female to call a play-by-play broadcast was back in 1987. It's
Wow.
the last time for NBC Sports. It was a Seahawks-Chiefs game, and that was Gail Sirens that did that back in 1987. That gal, she actually got offered to do more games, but the TV station that she worked for, the NBC affiliate, wouldn't allow her to do them because they said she would have to miss too much work time to do that, to call
That's impressive that
call
a woman
NFL
was even given
games.
an opportunity
Yeah.
to call a game.
Yeah, back in
that long
1987.
ago.
Yep. It was pretty
That's
ridiculous.
phenomenal.
It is. It really is.
I bet a lot of people were upset about that.
I would have been. I mean, I'm sure she probably was a little upset about that too. But yeah, the company that she worked for, the NBC local affiliate, was like, no, you're going to miss too much time. So we'd prefer if you just didn't do that. So that kind of infuriates me a little bit, honestly. But anyway, we do say good morning to Patrick and Jeff and Chuck and many others tuning in as well, too. If you have any comments about our 2 questions of the day or what we've got going on, make sure to let us know. We are asking, should athletes stay off of social media during the playoffs? We're also saying, how do you feel about beauty pageants? Has the perception changed? How do you view them? Do you watch them? Do you care? We'd love to hear about it this morning. That would be phenomenal to get your opinion. Jeff says, would like to think female play-by-play would be more prominent in female sports. Yes and no, actually. It's kind of one of those weird things. For those that know me, I follow the NWSL, the Women's Pro Soccer League, very closely. It's kind of a mixture, honestly. There still is that main male voice that does a lot of the broadcasting, and then the analyst is always female, 90% of the time. But it's not a 2-female broadcast, unfortunately. You would think there would be more, but I think that, and this is nothing against women, I think it's just how some women's sound is just such a turnoff for viewers or such a turnoff for listeners immediately that if you don't sound polished and clean and not nasally and sound like you have a clue with what's going on, that's what's actually going to encapsulate people. And unfortunately, there's not a very large pool of those ladies out there, I think, and that's why you probably have so many people who just get so like, meh, like, listen, no, okay, I'm out kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
like,
the same with
okay.
volleyball, too. There's usually one woman in the broadcast or analyzing. but there's always a male that goes with her. It's never two women.
Yeah, and there's been a couple of times where you've seen like an all-female broadcast, of course, and when it's done properly, it sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, if they've got the voice for it, if they've got the technique for it, all about it, let it happen kind of a thing. It just is something that is not trending as much as you'd like to think it would be. Patrick on Facebook also says, as a sports official myself, there are many very well-qualified female officials, and it is great to see them getting the opportunities. Well, that's good to see that they're, at least from the officiating side of things, that people are continuing to break. And I mean, I was at a soccer tournament this weekend for my brothers, saw a bunch of female officials running around out there. So I get it, that's the youth level, but still, I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Milwaukee Torrent had 2 out of 4 referees.
Really?
The head official or referee on the field was a woman.
Really? Wow. Well, that's amazing. That's good to see.
She was young too.
Wow. That's interesting. I've
I think
noticed
she was the
that.
youngest out of all the 4 of them.
Wow. Well, props to them. Being an official is difficult enough, but then being a female, sometimes I think you automatically shovel on a little bit extra level of scrutiny. Like, you're a woman, what do you know? Like, you don't know the rules. Like, you're not fast enough
It was
to
the
keep
same.
up with the
Yeah,
action.
at the Milwaukee Torrent game yesterday, you could see the guys kind of pushing the limits a little bit with
To see what they
fouls
could get
or
away with?
saying stuff back to her, and there was a lot more
Really?
back and forth because they thought they could walk all over her.
That's interesting.
they
How did she
it's just how
respond to
society
that?
is. Like, they think that they can. She talked to them a little too long, honestly. She would like continue to have the argument back and forth with them
Really?
instead of, I don't know. It's hard though, because sometimes women just aren't respected as much, so they think they can get away with things.
And that's a big thing I feel like in a lot of these situations, is that people all the time are just like, oh, you're a woman, like I can mouth off to you, I can do whatever I want to, because like, what are you actually going to do to me? Like that kind of irks me the wrong way, just because I've been thankful enough to have been raised properly that you just don't treat women like that. It doesn't matter if they are someone that you're dating, if they're a teacher, if they're an official in your game, like you give them the respect that they deserve.
Yeah.
And to see this be more widespread, being like that, hearing that is just kind of a little like, okay, guys, like I'd expect better, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
some guys just don't care, which is unfortunate, which is very sad.
It's the way it is.
It is, which is not, it's not, but it's at the same time, it's
Yeah.
kind of sad to say that, though. I mean, just be like, yeah, that's just how it is. Like, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah,
But
I would agree.
topic for another day,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
absolutely.
All right, before we run out of here, Mackenzie, I just have to go on the record to say that I'm very excited for the NFL season. Like,
Yeah.
the more that people talk about it, after the draft happened, I kind of was hyped, and then it kind of went away again. But then the more I keep hearing people talk about the NFL season, the more I keep people talking about, Super Bowl odds and all that crazy stuff, it still continues to just get me fired up. And I'm like, is it the fall time yet? Is it college football time yet? Is it, NFL time yet? Just because that also means that I get to do more football broadcasting.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I get super excited about it. But I found it interesting too. Vegas has released a lot of their odds recently about like over under for how many games teams are going to win. And New England is actually favored. They're the only team to win every single game next year. They're the
Are
only
they really?
team. They're the only team. They're only projected.
Wow.
The over under is set at 12 for them next year, like with 12 wins. But they are favored in every single one of their games right now before the season even starts. I feel like that's a bit much. They're a great team, but to be favored in every single game, I mean, I think you could make the argument that Green Bay and Dallas are probably and Atlanta are going to be favored in most of their games as well too. But to be favored in every single game across the board,
I think it's pushing it, because how do you really know?
right?
It's
And that's
still
why
a
that's
team
why it's
sport. You could
preseason,
have
yeah.
all of these really great individual players, but at the end of
Exactly.
the day, it's still a team sport. So you don't know how they're all going to be put together and play together. And
Exactly. That's the big thing in
Yeah.
all of this that I find I was a little surprised by it. I'm like, why are we saying this so early? Like, I understand with the whole like over under, like release the over unders. That's
Yeah.
fine. 12 games. That when we end up doing our predictions as we get closer, I'll probably put them right around the 12 or 13
Yeah.
mark. Completely fine with that. But to go out and then release the odds saying like they're favored in every single game, I was like, you can't really know that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm completely fine with like after you've played a game or two to be like, okay, they're favored by 12.5 against Cincinnati. Well, yeah, duh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's not a good team.
Yeah.
But to say it ahead of time gets a bit much.
Yeah, you can usually tell who's going to be
Right.
a better team by looking at the players, but knowing exactly
Yeah.
how they're going to play each week against a certain team, there's really no way to tell.
Right. What's the most important thing about the NFL season, aside from obviously supporting the Packers, that you look forward to? Is there a team that you like to see how they do, or is there like a storyline that you like to follow, or what draws you in so much about the NFL?
Well, there is a kid from my high school that was on the Panthers, and now
Oh,
he's on the
really?
Saints. So
That's
hometown
exciting.
always follows him.
Gotta check him out.
obviously. Yeah, he still comes home and works out with the high school football team and stuff like that. He's a great guy.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I always try to follow him and support him, obviously. But just a Packer fan from Appleton,
gotta-
right around Green Bay. You gotta be.
Packer fan from Appleton.
Gotta
I
be.
love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Now, I mean, I completely agree with you on that one, too. I try to follow some of the guys that played high school football the same time I
Right.
did down in Naples. Carlos Hyde played at Naples
Yeah.
High, so obviously he plays over at San Fran. So it's always fun to keep an eye on him. Sammy Watkins is another one, too, that was in high school the same time I was. So
That's so cool.
getting to see some of those guys. I never got to play against Sammy Watkins, but just to see the fact that he was in the newspaper at the same time, you'd flip it over, like,
Yeah.
oh, how'd we do last night? Oh, Sammy Watkins went for, 250
Yeah.
yards and 12 touchdowns. Like, holy crap. Like, Sammy
so
Watkins
cool.
is tearing it up. So it's kind of cool to see that inside
Yeah.
track in that regard. So
I
I'm really
agree.
excited about it. I'm really, really just excited to see how some of the teams that are always, switch hitters, I feel like at times, are they going to turn it on this year? Is Tennessee going to be a good team this year? Is
Yeah.
Cleveland going to take a step forward finally after all their issues? I mean, it's not hard to take a step over one win, honestly.
I was gonna say they only gotta win one to make
Right,
some
it's like,
improvements.
oh my gosh, we're
or
so good.
Win two.
Exactly, but are the Giants going to be good this year? Like, there's a lot of different, things that have been kind of going back and forth. Is Dallas actually going to continue to be as good as they were? They're favored.
Yeah.
They're favored to win 13 games this year. So
Right.
we'll have to see. I'm curious to see what Dallas does this season. One more check in on the comments here before we jet out of here in just a little bit. Patrick and Chuck were offering their 2 cents about social media and everything else. Patrick says, unfortunately, that's a deeper problem in sports and interactions with officials. It doesn't necessarily just have to focus in on the women. That is true.
That's true.
Chuck, answering our question of the day. If you have not done so, please do so. It's in the comment. It's in the description above. Chuck says, I don't have an issue with athletes going on social media after a game to express their feelings about it. Obviously, they shouldn't be anywhere near it before or during.
I would hope not during.
Not. Like, little,
Have
like
it in your
Facebook
pocket or
Live or
something.
something, like while you're like in the huddle or something. Like, I'm surprised that we haven't seen that happen yet. But
Or it on a GoPro on your head.
I feel like with all the technology we've already got, like, why hasn't somebody put like a little like mini camera or something like in the face mask so you can like
Yeah.
watch the player as they play? Like, that'd be intriguing.
It would be
I'm
kind of
sure
cool.
somebody's working on it somewhere. I mean, I'd be foolish not to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Trevor says, good morning on Facebook. Great to see you, Trevor. Good morning to you. Patrick says he's got every single team winning over the Cleveland Skid Marks this year. He's like, he just doesn't think the Browns are going to be good this year. I think Cleveland's going to be good. I've said this a couple
I hope
weeks.
they win a couple of games.
I said this 4 weeks ago, and everybody laughed at me. I said I think Cleveland's going to finish second in the division. Pittsburgh's going to win the division. I
Really?
think Cleveland's going to finish second. Cincinnati and Baltimore are just for me. I think Cleveland has enough to actually be decent. It's not great, not good, not going to get to the playoffs, but I think they're going to be better.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is just, and then Baltimore is just nobody knows. So
Yeah.
there's nothing good for either of those two teams.
All those teams are still up in the air for me. I think they're all going to be
It's going to be a close division.
pretty close. Yeah.
But Pittsburgh is still the best of those 4 teams. And Pittsburgh
Yeah.
has had their issues recently as well, too. So I'm
have.
curious to see where everybody kind of falls on that one,
Yeah.
honestly. We'll have to see. Patrick says they actually have a ref cam on some of the NCAA broadcasts. That's interesting.
Really?
I didn't realize that they had a ref cam
Where is the cam?
in their
Or the
hat.
camera?
I
Because
don't
I've
know.
never noticed it.
Yeah, where is it, Patrick? I'd be curious to know. I would assume maybe in their hat, or maybe if it's like a really like, you know how like you have like the spy
Okay,
pens where you
yeah.
can like have a little camera like on it, like maybe if they've got it in there or something. Like, where do you put a camera on somebody that's constantly moving back and
Yeah.
forth? I feel like hockey would be a good one to have on, because you're skating around, you're not really
Yeah.
having any contact. Like, you could get away with a small camera clipped onto you or like
Mm-hmm.
on a hat or something. And Patrick says it's on the back judge on the hat, apparently.
Interesting. I'm going to have to look into that more.
Is there an umpire cam for baseball? I feel like that would be a smart one, because people are always like, "Oh, the ump is blind."
But then you could go back and watch every single pitch to see if they were
Right.
keeping their strike zone consistent or not, and
That's
that
a
could
good
turn into
point.
some controversy.
And that's probably why they don't do
because
that.
it would just be the same view for all 3 or 4 hours,
Right, that's true.
which could also get boring.
You're like, let's go down to the ump cam. All right, he still hasn't moved. Thank you. All
Yep.
right, going back up. Like, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know where else you'd put cameras, honestly. I mean, for soccer officials, like, you can't really put it on the center ref. He's flying all over the place. I think they've done that before, though. I feel like I've seen some video before of a ref having some sort of a camera on him while he's officiated a game.
Oh, how much controversy could it bring up, though, if there was a camera on a ref and you would hear and see everything the players are actually saying?
Oh.
Because from the stands, you don't always see. You can see that they're visually upset or not agreeing with the call.
Right.
But if there was a camera, you would get every lip movement.
That would be very intriguing, honestly, just to see what kind
Be
of
a lot more
things
fines issued, probably.
Oh, you absolutely know that's the case. I mean, we can guess on TV when you see them mouthing certain words. It's like, oh, okay, but sometimes refs are just like, all right, I'm just gonna don't want to hear about it. But
Yeah.
That is very interesting, and I bet you
Maybe I just became a millionaire.
Maybe you did. Mackenzie's officially retiring. This has been her first and only show that she's
20
going
and
to
retiring.
be. She's done. Be like, thank you, everybody. I should probably go put like a patent on that right now.
Yeah.
Chuck says NHL players have actually worn GoPros during demonstrations. It's mesmerizing. I would assume so. I feel like just the way that they glide around the ice, that it would be super like beautiful to watch. Just one of those sports that if you have a camera that's able to move along with the motion, it'd be like, I think it would be super cool, honestly.
I agree.
And people wear mics all the time too. You see coaches mic'd, you see NFL players mic'd. I mean, everybody loves the like NFL films like mic'd up to hear what guys are like yelling at each other. Like that's always the best. So that's not an uncommon thing in the sports world. It's always intriguing to see stuff like that. You apparently have some fans. Kara and Steve say go Mackenzie with a smiley face. So
Yeah.
what's up?
Hi, Cara. She's great.
What's up, Cara? Cheers. Thanks for watching this morning. All right, Mackenzie, as we get ready to duck out of here, any closing thoughts or final things that you want to put a bow on before we jet out for the day?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I just hope everybody agrees with me on the whole, my view about the women's pageant. I don't know. I'm so passionate about the way women are
And it's good
viewed
to
and that
see,
stuff,
though.
obviously.
People need to
I don't know. Woman power, but for the right reasons.
Hashtag women power, but not feminist women power.
Yeah.
That'd be too long to go hashtag. Like hashtag women power, hashtag not women feminist power, hashtag
Yeah.
go women. It's like, which one is it, Mackenzie? Like, you got to make up your mind. Do you want the women to be good or do you want them to be equal? It's like, what is it? But no, I agree with you on that one. I think that we don't necessarily need to have the lawyers, the doctors, the med students that are parading around. Like, that's great that you're incredibly beautiful and also very talented and also smart. But why do you need, what are you getting out of it by trouncing around and not a lot of clothes on national television being like, look at me, like, I'm amazing. It's like, good for you. Go do something with your life.
Yeah.
Like, if you want women to be equal, go and earn it in the boardroom. Go and earn it in the lab.
Right,
go and
like the rest of
earn
us.
it in the booth, like the rest of us.
I wasn't blessed
normal
with
Americans.
a 6-foot body and long legs, so I'm
I'm
gonna have to be in the boardroom meetings. I'm not gonna be
Mackenzie's
on.
feet are not touching the floor right now.
They are not.
For us,
They're definitely
I'm
not.
down. This is me as far as I can go in my chair to the ground, and as you can see,
My chair is all the way up. Like my legs are almost not above the table.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing, and that's a debate we can have another day. Short women versus tall women.
Yeah.
That's always a fun thing. But anyway, all right, guys, we love you all. We appreciate you all for swinging by today. A special thanks to Ryan Pierce, who swung by earlier, one of our NFL insiders and correspondents. It was great to get his insight. If you missed any of the show today, you can get it on our website, brewsportsnet.com. All of the shows are broadcast live here on our Facebook page on Brew Sports. Invite your friends to like it. It's also broadcast live on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Brew Sports, and on Spreaker.com, and then podcasted. All the shows are there. Listen to your favorite show on the go if you missed anything. We'd love to hear from you guys. A big thanks to everybody that commented today, that answered our questions of the day as well, too. Mackenzie's going to be hanging out with us for the whole week as Jamie's gone on vacation, so make sure you swing back here tomorrow. Same time, same place, 7 a.m. Central Time. She's got finals starting as well, too, so she's going to need finals advice. She's probably going to be hopped up on coffee, so we don't know what we're going to get the rest of the day.
I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee.
What?
Fun fact.
Can't. Never mind. We're looking for a new host. Mackenzie's gone for the rest of the week. She will no longer be here. You don't like coffee?
Nope.
Oh, I don't. We're going to have to talk off here. I don't have time for this.
Okay.
Anyway. Oh, my gosh. Well, for Mackenzie Lorenzo, I am Baxter Colburn. Thanks so much for stopping by today, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you here back again at 11 a.m. Central Time for halftime live right here on Brew Sports. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
3,